There are 10 powerful lessons that every believer must learn from the story of David facing Goliath. These lessons are so powerful that if a person is able to identify them, comprehend them, and implement them in his or her life, this person will be a person of enormous power and will achieve greatness. Now let's get right into it. The first lesson comes from the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 17 down to 20. Now the Bible records how that David was a responsible young man that could be counted on to implement tasks. The Bible recorded how that his father had called him and had sent him to go to the battlefield and deliver food, bread to his brothers. Now, the first lesson that every believer must learn from the story of David facing the giant Goliath is that greatness starts with a sense of responsibility. If you see any man, if you see a woman that is achieving great things in his or her time and era, it is a proof that these persons are people who have learned the act of carrying responsibility, of being responsible. A person who is not responsible about his life and about his family, about his destiny, about his nation, about his community cannot achieve greatness. The Bible said that his father called out to him and told him to go and deliver food to his brothers, and the Bible recorded that the next day in the morning that David stood up and he went out to the battlefield and took bread to his brothers in the battlefield. What a powerful young man. What a young man who was able to to guide himself and to restrain himself from getting involved with the many distractions that the youth of his time were involved in. I tell you, brothers and sisters listening to me or watching me, if you can come to a point in your life where you tell yourself that there is a need for me to take responsibility for my life, there is a need for me to take responsibility for my destiny, there is a need for me to take responsibility for my health, for my family, for everything around me, I tell you that you have come to the point of entering into the reality of what greatness looks like. Because before every innovation, before every creation, before every powerful thing that was ever created in the earth could come into place, the act of taking or having a sense of responsibility was always the first step that baited such great things. Now, the second lesson that every believer must learn from the story of David facing the giant Goliath is refuse to accept what others have tolerated. Now, when you read the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 24 to 26, you will discover that when David had arrived at the camp, he discovered that the giant Goliath had stood before the children of Israel for 40 days and he was cursing them, he was insulting them, he was calling the God of Israel and ridiculing the name of the God of Israel, and no man could stand up against him. No man could stand up against him and say, you know what, this nonsense must stop. I tell you the truth, brothers and sisters, wherever you're listening to me, that if there are things going on in your life, if there are things going on in your family, if there are things going on in your business that are negative, there are things that you know are not supposed to be there, then it is time for you to stand up vehemently and resist them. Because if you don't resist them, they will continue. If you come from a poor family, you come from a struggling family, you come from a community of people who do not achieve great things, of people who are used to ridicule, are used to poverty, are used to lack, or of people who greatness does not not emanate from them. So they have come to a point where they have accepted mediocrity. They have come to a point where they have accepted smallness. They have come to a place where they have accepted poverty as a way of living. It is up to you not to tolerate what others have tolerated, but to refuse and resist them. The Bible said that when David arrived at camp and he heard everything that Goliath was saying, he said, you know what, this nonsense must stop. Somebody must put an end to this nonsense. This man, despite his size, despite his height, despite the strength that he commands, he cannot stand and insult by God. He cannot stand and defile the armies of Israel, and I do nothing about it. David decided that he will do something about it. Maybe just in case you were thinking within you that maybe he heard the voice of the Lord that now told him that go and fight Goliath and the victory will be yours. No, there was nothing like that. It all started from a man refusing that the nonsense that others have tolerated over the years, that he will not tolerate it. It started with a man saying, you know what, I am different. I am different. This nonsense must stop. I am different. The oppressors of my fathers must stop. I am different. The challenges of my family must stop. I am different. So when a man comes to the point where he refused to accept what others have tolerated, that man is on the verge of entering into a breakthrough, of entering into a season of explosion, of joy, of celebration, of greatness. That is how great people think. Now, the third lesson that every believer must learn from the story of David facing the giant Goliath is how that a person must come out from negative influence. You know, negative influence are so powerful. If you read the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 28 to 30, you will come to realize that even when David had made his intentions known of wanting to fight for Israel, of wanting to resist, of wanting to fight and defeat the giant called Goliath, that there were negative influences around him. There were negative counsels. There were negative advices that came from very, very reliable source. His brothers discouraged him. The armies, those who have been fighting for years, they discourage him. They say, you know what, bro, you can't face this guy. You can't face this man. He has been fighting from the days of his youth. Look at you, you're small compared to him. He's a giant. You know, he's strong. He comes from the clan of the Nephilims, and because of that, he possesses supernatural abilities. But you know what? David understood this principle that I'm sharing with you today, that if a person must be great, then the person must come out of negative influences. A person must come out of negative counsels. There are many people today who are suffering not because originally by the scripts of their destiny they're supposed to suffer, no, but because for every time that they try to raise their head and do those things that are supposed to bait the greatness in them, they are surrounded by negative influences. They are surrounded by negative counsels, by negative advisors, by negative people. Now, what you need to understand was that some of the people that advised David, they sounded as though they loved him, but what you need to get is that it was a form of a toxic love. This love was a kind of love that they tell you that, oh, you know we love you, we don't want you to suffer, we don't want you to die before your time. That's what we're saying. Oh, don't embark on this project, don't go after your destiny, don't go after your vision, just stay back and enjoy your life. You don't need to face the giants of your father's house. Just forget them. One day God is going to fix them for you. But the truth of the matter remains that is a blatant lie, because there is nobody coming to take hold or to deal with that giant in your life, in your business and your family. You must come out of negative counsel. You must come out of negative influence. You must come out of negative patterns and break out and face the giant of your father's house, of your mother's house, in order for you to enter into greatness. There is no man who ever achieved greatness without breaking the circle of negative influences, as we see in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 28 to 30. Now, the fourth point that I have jotted down here to counsel you about is that for every man that seeks greatness, for every man that wants to overcome the giant of his or her father's house, the giant that have kept people in his nation bound, the giant that has kept people from his clan small, that man must be a man that remembers past victories. So there is a need for you to be conscious of the things that you went through and you survived in your days of humble beginning, so that when you appear before the giant, you would have confidence. Because in days like this, your confidence is going to be tested. You're going to hear stories of how that the giant has crushed many, he has killed many, he has destroyed many. Now, those days, in these days where this testimonies, these reports are presented before you, this is the time for you as a person to take your stand, and like David, read the scrolls of your past victories, how you have killed the lions, how you have killed the bears, how you have protected the flocks under your care. Now this is very, very powerful, because this gives you a form of a reinforcement. When you read the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 34 to 37, you're going to see that there. Now, the fifth point of what every man that seeks to break into greatness must do is that you must have confidence. You must have confidence, but your confidence must not come from your ability. It must not come from your personality. It must not come from your certification. It must not come from your skill, but it must come from God. Your confidence should be in God, so that what you cannot do for yourself, God can do through you. So David understood this, and that is why when you read the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 45 to 47, you're going to see his declarations. You're going to see everything that he said after negative reports were given to him. You're going to see how that he boasted in the Lord. You're going to see how that his confidence was hidden in the personality of God, and that is why he functioned in the capacity of God by dealing with the giants that have become a reproach to the children of Israel. So you want to deal with the giants in your father's house, all you need to do is to tap into